Welcome, Christmas Radio. We are back with little Dave, and his face is more sunk in than last week.
Right.
And unlike most people who shut their life down, you are 2 days out and doing a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Normal shit.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah, it's really funny. I messaged you early in the week and was like, "Hey, man, if you need an excuse to get out of it, like I understand." And you're like, "Nah, we can do it today or Saturday. I don't give a shit."
no joke.
I mean, the great thing about that is like you told me you have what, one competitor in the show too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's business as usual. Like you're just gonna get on stage with a tan this time and pose and send me your photos as opposed to pale and send me your photos.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, because I mean, in the grand scheme of life, like you'll be on stage what, 15 minutes in the morning
Yeah.
and then hopefully a little longer at night.
Yeah.
That's the plan at least.
It's always kind of funny how that goes. It's just like, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's such a short duration of actually being up there.
Correct, correct. And I think that kind of will lead into what I wanted to talk about is since you have another show in July, meaning USA is like I for the most part has just treated this week like any other week for you. I did pull back on training volume of your legs a touch only because you train them what Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you figure like most guys, all the rules in bodybuilding is like you have to stop training legs 7 to 10 days before you compete.
Now you can do what you want, but
No.
managing the inflammation after
Yes.
is,
Yeah. Yeah.
is the key.
Yeah. I always try to tell people this too. Like they get all paranoid about that shit. Like for one of the many times John finished second at Masters Nationals, we were banging 4 1/4 yoke bar squats at illegal on Tuesday, and he competed on Thursday. Like,
Yeah.
and they weren't easy sets. Like, I think so many people get that so twisted, right? Like they're like, oh, there's all these rules, and like it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Because you crushed your legs, and that's where I want to start, I think, with this whole conversation. You crushed your legs last week
Mhm.
hard, and it actually for some reason made them appear smaller because I think there was just so much soreness in there.
Yeah.
They weren't smaller, by the way. This is a weird appearance thing. Like, and then once they rested, recovered, and came back to life, like it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
So maybe talk about that. Like, did that affect you psychologically or no?
A little bit, but at the same time, it's kind of like realizing that like the muscle fullness and flatness will change daily,
Right. Yeah.
but muscle tissue isn't just leaving you. It's I know for a fact I didn't miss a meal. So I'm eating my protein. Yes, we had some days where we're just protein, pretty low carbs, pretty low fats. But I mean, that's like I said, a couple days. It hasn't been a couple months of that.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, so it's like there's no reason for my. Also, the fact that I still hit a PR on hack squats on Tuesday, it gives me a pretty good idea of my muscles not leaving me.
Hold on. You mean you're inside of 10 days out and not weak?
Just choose not to be.
You are damn, what's really funny, right? Is years ago, I discovered that in a prep, and I just started telling people that, like, they're like, Chris, like, you didn't get weaker, you got stronger. I'm like, I just decided not to get weaker. Well, what does that mean? Like, I just decided not to pull weight off the bar. Well, I don't understand. Like, everyone gets weaker. No, everyone doesn't. You choose to.
Yeah,
Like, yes, you may have to be intelligent with your training programming or maybe take a touch longer to like really dial in mentally. You may lose a rep or two, or at minimum, match what you did the previous week.
yeah,
And I think so many get caught up in overcomplicating it, maybe because their brain just goes crazy and they want to change all this shit. And like the problem with that always stems to if you constantly are changing things at the very end, how do you know what's really happening? Where with you, I know what your training is. And if you come back to me and say, hey, Chris, like I had to pull a plate and a half off a hack today and I got 2 less reps. Okay, we have to fix something.
yeah. Well, then you also need to take account of who you're training around
Yeah.
and your gym environment, right? If you went to a different gym and you used a completely different hack spot, every single hack spot I ever used does not weigh the same.
No, agreed.
You know, the one I do at Butler is the Cybex one. It's super steep.
Yeah.
And then there's at the other gym, it's not as steep. So it's like I know for a fact that there's another 2 plates on those when I use that one.
Yeah.
It's not what I got weaker. It's what one's just a harder machine. You know, and removing your ego from that is sometimes is needed. But then on the other side, like if you have a training partner, use them.
Yes.
You know, that's what they're there for at that point, especially in prep, right?
Yeah.
Is making sure you're not fucking around.
Yeah.
You know?
Agreed. And it's that accountability to them, and they know like how strong you've been if they pay attention. And it's like, hey, like your top set you're doing with the same amount as we did last time, we're gonna beat those reps, right? Yeah, damn right we are. Like, even if I have to help you get there or stay on your ass, like I don't know. I'm sure I've shared this with you. I don't know. I definitely don't think I've shared this online. Like the amount of times when I had a serious leg training partner, I would tell them if I stop short, add a plate and make me go again. Like you just choose it and you put that positive pressure. Like if John wrote in there like do 30 without pausing. If I stop 1 rep short of 30 pausing, put a plate on there and I'm redoing the set. Like you create that sense like, hey man, like you have to find the way to dig through this. And I think a lot of times it just stems from, I don't even want to call it mental toughness. It's just a matter of deciding and then making it happen in our life.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen that in person a lot, like coaching people too. You know, there's certain ones that get that mentality. There's others that you can nurture that, and there's others who will never grasp it. Because I think the common misconception, right, is people may listen or watch what we do and they think, oh man, they've always been machines and they're superior and blah. Man, like the reason we are sharing this information is because we once were not that. We were trying to achieve it. And then once we found that power and began to harness it, I want to share that with others on how to do it. It's not saying that you and I are more hardcore. We've just refined our process to the point where it's where others are trying to get to now. Like, what do you think?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the same tools available as everybody else, and we just figured out a way to make it work for us.
Yes.
Yep. And that way will work for a lot of people as long as the effort's in there. You know, it's not some gimmicky trick or, 15 pounds in 15 months, something like that. It's just a matter of execution over time and the consistency of that execution, and us just like, we're honestly like, that's what you do when when you're passionate about something, you don't just keep it to yourself.
Right. Yes.
Right. We want to tell the world about what we're seeing here because it's working, because we've beaten our heads up against the wall so many times that it did not work.
Right.
So like when something does work, we're like, oh shit, let's tell someone about this. Like,
right.
Someone else can benefit here, other than just me.
Right. Yeah. You want to share, it reminds me of those like videos people used to make about how like people wanted to invite others to be vegans or CrossFitters. And it's like, come to our cult. We want to tell you how great it is.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it is with what we do with gaining muscle, burning fat, like unlocking new sectors of our mind. Like that's the reason you and I started doing this is because like, hey, like others want to get here. Like, let's help them at least cut out a couple turns in terms of MapQuest. If you look at that analogy, like let's save you some time and help you get up to this rate of speed of growth and progress, right? Like I wish I had my brain 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, what's really interesting, because someone asked me that, like, man, if you could go back and do anything, like, would you like to go back and have this body at 20? And I'm like, no, I want this brain at 20. And that retrospect would be so powerful. And I would have saved myself a ton of time and be like, hey, like sometimes in terms of just saving time to say, hey, take a deep breath and don't stress, man. Like it's going to happen. Because I mean, I think there's all periods of time, and I'm sure you've experienced this, like where you feel like you have all the secrets, and there's other times where you're like, man, I know nothing.
Yeah.
And then
so true.
between.
Yeah, so true. And I mean, that doesn't matter who you're working with. And like a lot of the times, there's a lot of times I get clients who I'm questioning, like, what the fuck do I even know?
Yeah.
And then there's
Yeah.
other ones where it's like, every single thing I do, I told this person has elicited to change what I wanted.
Correct.
And then sometimes it's finding out what, like, oh, it sucks because the human individual, if you told me to eat dirt, I would ask you what kind of dirt and how much.
Yep.
I have no problem making a change there. What's inconvenient to my life at the moment and rolling with it. Where a lot of the times people they want to change, they're like, okay, cool. I want to go grow muscle. I want to get bigger. I want to be leaner, but I want to do the things I've been doing currently.
Yeah. Right.
And that's where there's a huge disconnect because the things that you've been doing currently have brought you to the point where you are now.
Correct.
And if that isn't where you want to be, that should be common sense to be like, okay, cool, we need to do different things.
Yep.
But and that's the variable what does need to change is the ability to make those switches and not hold your ego aside, in front of that and be like, well, I like doing it this way because I like doing it this way.
Right. Yeah. It's really a real world experience of that for me, right? Is when I was to the end of working with Shelby for 5 years, and I was like, I knew I needed to change, and I hired Matt Porter, and I went from 0 cardio to 60 minutes. And in my mind, I was like, man, that's drastic, right? And then the other thing that was drastic when I switched to him is training 7 days a week. I was used to doing 4 or 5 with Shelby, and he was like, we're going to train 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And we're going to see how many days we can go without you taking a break from cardio or from training. And I think so many would have been like, man, screw this. Like, that's way too drastic. And what I always kind of went back to in my brain is I switched coaches for a reason. If it would have been the exact same thing what I was doing, why would I have switched from Shelby? Right? Like,
yeah.
There would have been no reason to, but I knew I wanted something drastically different. Like, so I welcomed the diet change because I was tired of eating so much dietary fat. But then on the flip side, I was like, man, it's a lot of cardio. It's a lot of damn training with no rest. And I was like, you know what, man, I have 2 choices here, right? You can either nut up and do it and get progress, or you can just do the same shit and be unhappy with where you are physically. I was like, I think I'll spend my money wisely and I will follow the plan to the T. And guess what? It worked.
Yeah, exactly.
I will tell you this. The first fucking time I was on that treadmill for 60 minutes, I was like, this is horrible. But I mean, because how I do your cardio, I'll taper you up. If you're doing 20 minutes of all seasons, I'm like, let's do 25. But imagine going 20 minutes to 60. Like, that's a kick in the face, right? Like,
yeah, that's a nice kick in the teeth.
And I think like that's where so many people may go wrong when they start with a new coach is they're like, oh man, he took my protein from 6 ounces to 8, or he took my carbs from 400 to 800, or I don't know, he's making me, instead of training 6 days a week, he's only making me work out 4. Like, sometimes those drastic changes you just have to take with a grain of salt and be like, hey, I hired this guy for a reason or girl for a reason, and let's just ride it out and see what happens, because he sees something that I don't, or I'm missing. So
on the opposite side of things, I had one girl who, after we did a show, she got super sick. Everything was just wonky for a second. I was like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. The next 14 days, we're not going to the gym.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And she was like, why? And then 4 days into it, she's like, I have taken a nap every fucking day. My stress levels are lower. I realize why you said this. My digestion is improving. My sleep is improving. My appetite is improving. And I was like, we're 4 days in. You still got 10,
Yeah.
At the end of that, we were able to add back in training. Guess what? Body fat came down in that period. She actually built some muscle tissue in that period. Her stress hormones came way down. Everything was responsive at the end of that 2 weeks because all I did was like go to work, go home, and fucking nap.
Yep.
And we're gonna eat these things. Guess what? It was temporary. She fucking hated it. She was used to not like only being in the gym, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And the outcome she got from the opposite, just actually listening, right? Because it would have been really easy for her to be like, all right, cool, I'm not going to go to the gym, but I'm going to go do a HIIT class or a cardio class, or I just won't tell Dave.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But at the end of it, we added back in training, we added other things, we added more, change of diet. And it was just a matter of letting her body have some time to legitimately take a breath and like, okay, cool, we're not dying. All
Yeah.
of these stress hormones can come down. Not everything's gonna that's not always gonna be the answer, but sometimes it might be something you're gonna like. The answer might be something you don't like.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Right. Which is, I think what we talked about last time is just transparency and brutal honesty at all times, right? Because we can work with that. Like,
Mhm.
that's why I always ask you so many questions that you may not give me that I might not know in the update, but it's like how your legs feel, what's your pump like how do you feel this morning? What are your legs like? Are they heavy? Are they tired? Are they sore? Like all those questions are going to lead me to say, hey, like let's do this, let's do that. Like, and if you gave me falsified information, and that can be from both sides, like you don't tell me the whole story, and like, they're a little sore when really they're like an 8 out of 10. Like,
Yeah.
no, what'd you tell me? You're like, my adductors are fucked.
Yeah.
So, like that, I know I can work with that because I now know like we gotta get those adductors not sore by Saturday. So,
Yeah.
for all those ones out there listening right now, like if you're working with a coach, or honestly, if you're self-coaching, you can't lie to yourself. Like
Yeah.
you have to, and that's why self-coaching is so difficult, is it's hard to remove emotion from those decision-making skills because you'll always lean into stuff that you want to do versus maybe need to do. Again, referencing back to the old one we just did last week,
Yep.
it's beyond easy to justify an extra cheat meal or a high carb day or less cardio or on the flip side, it's easy to justify, man, like let's just pull my carbs to zero, pull all the fat out and just suffer for the next week.
That's where me and you we do really well with that's why I do so well with you, right? Is because I'm that person
Yeah.
where the answer for me is like I have zero problem adding doing more. I'll get in my head and be like, okay, cool. 40 minutes isn't enough. Let's double it. Let's do 80 minutes of cardio.
Yep.
Cool. If I'm not seeing this, and a lot of the times, as we both know, it's my body usually wants to, we need to take the foot off the gas pedal,
Yes.
where my brain is going to tell me to like, nope, fuck it. I can push a lot fucking harder. You
Yeah.
know, I have no problem doing the hard shit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's not, and the ability to know when to pull back. And that is where that guidance comes into line. Like I said, like I have that. You don't ever you're looking at yourself through a mirror. You're not looking at yourself,
Yep.
right? You're looking directly at me through photos.
Correct.
The emotion I have tied to my physique, you do not have tied to yours,
No,
you know?
no. And not when I formulate the plan either, right? Like I think that's what a lot of times people fail to realize is when I'm coaching, like my singular focus is to make you be your best.
Yep.
And whatever I see in that day, that's what I'm going to tell you to do. And it could be right, and it may be wrong. It may be mostly right. And I know there's a lot of coaches who won't admit that shit. Like we've all done things where like maybe I didn't feed you enough carbs yesterday, and I'm like I got to redo it again today because it wasn't quite enough. Or maybe I shouldn't have had him do PM cardio today, or maybe I should have. Like there's always things that when you're coaching an individual like yourself who wants the hardest to be your best, and when you're passionate to be your best, you almost have to put a governor on them and act as their voice of reason. Like, hey, look at your glutes. We're there. Hey, we're
Yeah.
back to dugout now. Look at your face. Like we're in a good spot. Like, let's just not run this fucking muscle into the ground that you just put on all last off season and just maintain it. Because at the end of the day, it's like I always think from a coaching perspective, I can shoot for 100, but I like 95. Like,
Yeah.
because if I miss 100, you might be 85.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, I always err on that side, right? Where I think people were guilty, like, man, I want to get you blasting full. And I'm like, let's just get you pretty full and then get a pump.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
worst I can do is
Well,
blur
I think we're on the same boat. I feel like coming on the stage a little bit flat, but harder and drier
Yep.
always looks better than coming in piping full, but soft.
Agreed. Yes. Yep. Without a doubt. And
You
that's
know,
because I will always believe being dug out will present bigger. So if
Yeah.
you're standing beside a guy who is full blown but not dug out, it's a very different look. And yes, when he comes out and he poses alone, you might be like, man, that's really impressive. And then you stand beside someone who all the water's gone, all the fat's gone, and then skin is just shrink wrapped. It's like, ooh, it just leaves some more to be desired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like that Cedric McMillan shit where it's like, man, that's really pretty to look at. But if he would just eat a little bit more, everyone would have been like ranting and raving how he's Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
So that's the fine line of balancing it, because we're at the point with you now where it's pretty much just cruising. Like, I give you some carbs. We did a little like 15 minutes of cardio this morning just to get you moving, do some abs, resend me photos, decide what you're gonna do for the day, food wise. You're gonna do push this afternoon. Like, we're in a good spot. Like,
Mhm.
we're gonna do pull tomorrow. Or sorry, pull today, push tomorrow. No, hold on. Why is my brain
Yeah,
going
we got pushed today.
push today? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Either
trained.
way, I mean, and honestly, then we're getting a nice pump today.
Right. Yes, yes. And it's nothing insane. I told you in and out of the gym in 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So when you look at that as a whole, my goal was just to kind of get you in there, blood moving around, pushing carbs in, and then just chill. Like, it's as simple as that.
Yep.
And the most stressful thing you'll have is just making sure you show up in your tan takes.
Yeah.
Because
I
that's
have
out
I have a
control.
nice date night with my girlfriend, a razor and the exfoliator scrub tonight.
Oh, heck yeah. That's the fun part. I know Angel's always like, fuck, can your brother not do this?
Right. Right. I either need to get a nice yardstick. I have a PVC pipe I use for shoulder rotations after cardio. I was like, I could duct tape the trimmer to this and just hope for the best, or I could give it to you. It's gonna take 5 minutes.
And then, like, she knows how obsessive I am, where I'm like, there's a hair right here.
Yeah.
Chris, it's not gonna matter. Will you please get that hair off of me? Thank you.
I almost
I
just
mean,
want to go find a vat of Nair or something and jump in it.
yeah, I mean, I think even in Pittsburgh, I was like, get in here, let me see. Hand me that razor. There's a couple places that you miss.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of life, like, no one's gonna fucking matter. But like,
Yeah.
no, let's go ahead and get that off you.
Yeah.
So that's like the old school bodybuilding where it's like, when I started bodybuilding, the whole process was like, if you have one singular hair anywhere, you're gonna get scored down. It's like, no, you're not.
No, yeah, they don't even notice really.
No, not one bit. So,
I always feel bad for Hadi Chupon
mm,
because that dude has got he's Persian.
right.
He's got all the hair. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I want to know what that looks like for him. Like, he probably has a team at Oxygen or whatever.
Yeah.
Probably have the defurring team.
Right. It's like you have someone for your right leg, right arm, left arm, and torso.
Yeah.
Gee, yeah. I'm really fortunate. I'm not super, super hairy. Like, I mean, I have hair everywhere below my chin, but it's like, it's not horrible.
Yeah.
It's like a wool coat or anything. So,
Yeah. I've always laughed at that. My family genetics are hilarious. Like,
Hmm.
even if I didn't get into bodybuilding and didn't use PDs, I'd still probably be bald with a beard. Because I started shaving for this beard when I was 12.
Oh shit.
My hairline started going back when I was 19.
Right.
Like, I knew it was happening because on my mom's side, those genetics are hilarious because we're all the same height. We all have beards and all of us are bald.
Right.
And it's like, yep, thanks, grandpa. Because these genetics are as strong as they get.
Right. Anytime people on Instagram like try to be nasty, like, oh, nice hairline, bro. I'm like, of course they attribute to drugs and gear, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
my hairline is exactly the way my dad's is.
Yeah.
To the
I should just send photos of my grandpa.
right.
When he was I legitimately have photos of him when he graduated from college, and he looks identical to me, beard, face wise, right? Obviously not muscle wise, but it's he was not using testosterone in the fucking 30s.
I mean, you've seen my dad. He's 150 pounds. Like, there's zero doubt he's on anything.
Yeah.
Like, because he's not, he's 5'10", 150. Like, I have
Yeah.
100 pounds on him. Like, and his hair has been like this since, let's see, he had me at 31. So at least as I remember. So from 40 on, his hair has been like this till he's 70. So
Yeah.
I mean, dear God, like it's literally just genetics.
Yeah.
Oh man, like so. I mean, I do want to go through some stuff here real fast
Yeah.
before we both got to eat. In terms of, I don't know if we've ever talked about like true peaking and what that looks like for us. Like, I just went through with one of my guys. He was like, "Hey, Chris, like, what are we going to do the final week?" And I was like, "I have no clue." And he's like, "Oh man, like no coach ever told me that before." And like, listen, we're going to eat your same foods we've eaten this entire time, which we ate all season, which we ate all last prep. There's no reason to get fancy at this point. You're ready. It's
Yeah.
literally shaved tan oil, and that is it. Like, and especially with this show where it's not the one we're really hungry for.
Yeah.
It's not treated like any other day, man. Like,
Yeah.
for Christ's sake, we're training on Friday. Like,
Yeah.
we've trained on show day before, by the way. Fun fact for anyone watching. Like, I don't play by any rules. If your body tells me, if you wake up tomorrow and you're like, man, I feel beat to shit, we won't train.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally just going to be ride the wave. Like, we're there. We aren't putting any muscle tissue on at this point. We're not pulling any fat off at this point. It's just a matter of keeping your stress hormones as low as humanly possible. We may or may not manipulate any water. We won't do any diuretics. I didn't tell him to go get a packet of Diazide.
Yeah.
Won't even have any with you. Like, nothing
Yeah.
fancy.
There's zero reason for it.
Right. Nothing. You're hard and dry all day long. Why is that going to change? Like, I have no reason to do anything weird out of the ordinary. Have you pump up for 2 hours before the show? Like, we're going to wake up, we're going to assess your photos, and then your flat to fullness level and dryness will all be balanced. And then we'll just decide food here on out. And then when we show up in July, it'll be even nastier. Like, yeah. Do you have anything you want to say with that regard, since you've worked with me so many times?
Honestly, it's just a matter of like, not doing fancy stuff is how you look the best. Because if you look good 2 weeks out doing normal shit, right? Why fuck that up and try to manipulate your salt, your water, your carbs, all so fancy? What you leave a margin of error possible because it's outside of your norm, and or incorporating different foods, right?
Oh, yes.
A
Yep.
burger and fries sounds fantastic to me. Like,
Yep.
will I digest that as well as I possibly know I digest chicken and rice? Probably not. Or maybe I do, maybe I don't. But that's a coin toss.
Agreed.
And why leave something like that up to a coin toss?
Right.
Like when you have if you already know what you're gonna do, like keep the same things, and then just lower stress. That means taking a little couple days off work, so you're not going to be dealing with people, just managing everything that way.
Yep.
Do that. That's the name of the game, and or just figure out how to manage your stress too.
Agreed.
That's if you can't manage your stress, you're gonna have a hard time peaking.
I can't sit here and say that I've never given or someone's needed a burger and fries and not look great from it, because that'd be a lot. But
Yeah,
at this point
I can't say that either. There's times it's like, all right, that actually is not a bad call.
Correct, because there's a multitude of things, right? Like, you get that little bit of serotonin hit, you get to go out and have a meal, so it takes your brain off all that shit of like posing and tanning and oiling and all that stress, right? You remove that for 2 hours. You get something that's palatable and tastes great and goes down easy. It's a super calorie dense food. And what's really interesting about a burger and fries, right, is I think so many people think we do it for carbs, but when you think about it, it's density of fat. Because 9 times out of 10, if I gave you steak, rice, cream of rice, and some fruit, you're going to have more carbs than you get from Five Guys.
Yeah.
But what I won't do is, I don't think I've ever given you a meal that's over 30 grams of healthy fats. Where if you go get 2 burgers, a small fry, you're getting 55 to 60 grams of fat.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, also from Five Guys, they fried it in peanut oil, so it's actually not terrible for you.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. That's not an inflammatory fat. So I mean, where you get your burgers from does matter.
Yeah. You know,
You
I've
know?
always thought this, like if I knew, for example, the last three shows you've done, we've always needed that and you respond well to it. 99 times out of 100, the next prep we would do, I would just keep that in there every week.
Yeah.
So we would decide, hey, when you feel the best from it, when you feel like you need it the most, we'd probably do it at the end of a training day or the day before a weak body part. And I'd always do that in your plan. So every week you're gonna get the exact same order. So when it comes the night before the show, your body is used to digesting it. It knows it's going to get it that week, and it's simple. And I've always felt that. It's just a smart, intelligent technique for all you guys listening out there who may have a coach or something. Like if your coach gives you a free meal each week, you need to have some constant with that so that you can see like, okay, I ate Chick-fil-A this week and I felt great. I looked great. My arm session the next day was incredible. Perfect. Mark that down. Let's say you go and have a big ass pasta meal from Olive Garden. Felt like death, stomach hurt, gassy, farty. Okay, cross that shit off. We don't want to do that again. Like, there's so many like little notes that I think so many people gloss over. They're like, oh, like where are you gonna have your free meal? I don't know yet. Listen, you and I think, are too damn OCD. Like, if I give you a free meal, you know exactly if I didn't tell you where to go.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going here, I'm getting this, this, this. Perfect. That way you can report it to me so we can look at your photos the next day and be like, you look like a freak. This bloated you, this blew your stomach out, this made you have indigestion. Like, there's so many little things that go with that. To me, that a lot of people don't assess. And I know sometimes like that may be a bit obsessive, but listen, that's what we do.
Yeah.
I can promise you're not feeding you protein bars.
Yeah. No joke.
Like, I'll speak on this too, right? There's been shows where I've given you alcohol before the night before. We quickly realized you didn't need that.
Yeah.
Just didn't.
Yeah.
Like,
Super fair.
some people do really well with that because guess what? It makes them sleep great. They enjoy it. They maybe regularly drink in the off season. Like, so alcohol to them is enjoyable, and it's a way to chill out a bit and help you sleep. And I don't know how much of that is like psychological placebo effect as it is to just like, hey man, like it puts me out. Like I know that if you watch some like old school Ronnie Coleman, Kevin Levrone stuff, they swear about vodka backstage and the night
Yeah.
before the show. Listen, I've done that and it didn't work for me. But I'm
Yeah.
not a drinker. Like I, I've never, I don't think, been truly drunk in my entire life. And I think I've maybe drank 4 to 5 times in my entire adult life. So why would I add that in the night before the show? And again, coin flip if it's going to work or not.
Yeah.
How about I just have some water or like a decaffeinated coffee because I have that
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. No joke.
Because caffeine or decaf coffee is going to have the similar diuretic effect as some vodka would. Like,
Yeah.
if anything, that coffee is going to make me have a nice shit, and I'm going to have a flat stomach.
Super true.
So, I mean, again, like this picking process will go so smooth for us because again, we've done this, we've been here multiple times. I don't think any surprises are going to happen. Do you have to travel far for this?
It's probably about 30-minute drive. It's not
Oh, so
terrible.
you get to sleep in your bed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. Oh yeah.
Sometimes I'm like I kid you not. Before we moved a little bit closer,
Mhm.
but when I did the Wasatch Warrior 2 years ago,
Mhm.
I just got an Airbnb downtown because I was like, I don't want to fuck with driving.
Right. Yeah.
Because I was like, this saves me 3 hours. I was like, awesome.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but this time it's like, oh, whatever. It's not really worth it. Because
Right.
like I said, it's about a half an hour drive. So it's like, okay, cool. Just,
Oh,
you know.
we'll tell you this. I had to book the Airbnb for North Americans.
Yeah.
Got one of those places across the bridge.
Oh
by
yeah.
Puritan. Like
That's smart. Yeah, that's really smart.
it's a
That damn
1 minute.
bridge.
Oh,
That damn bridge.
listen, you talk about inducing panic.
Dude,
That'll make your stress go
I'm so glad you were driving for that because I was like, all right, it says turn left, and you're like, there's 3 fucking left turns. I was like, I don't know.
Right. God, yeah, and the GPS like screaming at you, and there's traffic everywhere, and everyone's going 70 miles an hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm in a car I've never driven before. Yeah, like You know, if I was in my big ass Jeep, I wouldn't care. I was running somebody's ass over. But
Yeah,
yeah, oh no, it's a 1 minute walk from the or sorry, 1 minute drive from the Sheraton. So what you figure you walked that in like 3 to 5 minutes?
yeah,
Stellar. I'm like, oh, thank
yeah,
God.
yeah. You don't even have to pay for parking.
No, no, no. So I was
Get
like,
one of
oh,
those. Have you seen those rental scooters?
oh yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
just
yeah,
get one.
yeah. Because Chris joked me, he was like, "Are you gonna carry me piggyback style?" I'm like, "No, we'll just steal a shopping cart from Trader Joe's and I'll push you."
Yeah, that will work.
Yeah.
Just a wheelbarrow or something.
Right, right. So yeah, I mean, so that I think that's also huge for you, is not having to travel, because you know that definitely forces you to prep a lot more. Where if you're just eating food out of your fridge, it's like every other day of the week,
Yeah,
as opposed to, okay, how many chicken breasts do I need to take? Like, do I have everything I need? My food scale, all my supplements, like that's what makes that'll make that so much easier for you.
yeah.
Which is why I
Well, you know,
encourage.
I mean, I go everywhere with the food scale anyways. I have that. You've seen that little travel one.
Yes,
That,
yeah,
that
yeah,
thing lives in my lunch bag.
yeah. Mhm.
So it's like I have it all the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
You'd be shocked how many people I've worked with who forget their food scale, and they're like, "What do I do?" I'm like, "Go to Target, go to Walmart."
Yeah.
What do you
Like
mean?
shit, if you're on vacation, like maybe eyeball it, I won't care. But like outside of that, like like yeah. Just have
Exactly.
one.
Or something as simple as like not taking your pre-workout supplements, not taking an actual scale to weigh yourself, like all
Yeah,
of those things that I think sadly come so second nature because we've been doing this for so long.
yeah,
That I'm always like, "What do you mean you don't have your scale? Well, how are you gonna know how much you weigh?" And like, why don't we know your weight? I'm like, that is definitely a tool. If your scale weight starts plummeting, we got to fix that.
yeah,
So, because
yeah,
I think that's where we'll finish this up, right? Is like all of that stuff we just talked about is vitally important. But if your
yeah,
coach isn't there and you can't get good lighting, that's a huge red flag. Like, because if you're giving your coach shadowed photos, things that either are over presenting, meaning making you look better than you do, or things that are under presenting, making you look worse, that's a problem.
yeah,
Now, obviously, that's where a coach being at your show is vital. But if that's not the case, like it won't be for you this weekend,
yeah,
step one is finding good photos once you get settled in. Now, the good news is, with you being at home, I know exactly what photos I'm going to get.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, and then whatever's at the. It's funny. I mean, when we did USA's 2 years ago, there was the worst lighting ever at that
oh,
venue.
yeah.
So it
Yes.
was so funny. I was like, well, these are all terrible. I'm gonna retake these again.
Yeah.
You know.
And you would send them, and the bad thing is, like, you would look soft and flat, and I'd be like, and I'm like, okay, that's not the case.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think too, like when your tan gets on, it's even harder to find light
yeah,
that's accurate,
yeah,
because you know we can take ones in the apartment Airbnb by the natural light, and you'll look like a freak.
yeah,
Or you can get in a shadowy mess, and it looks like you've never worked out a day in your life, and you just look muddy. Like,
yeah,
so that's why I always encourage all my guys and girls, like, if you can take a ring light, like, it's just helpful. And then when you get there, like, take shots in multiple rooms or locations, and have the person taking them be like, okay, this photo matches what I see with my eyes. And they don't have to be trained in bodybuilding, by the way. Like,
yeah,
you just need an accurate depiction. Does the photo look like what I see with my eyes? Yes. Boom, that's a good spot.
yeah,
And then the second thing is, are there shadows? So if it's upward lighting or downward lighting, however you want to say that, like if it creates shadow in your lower body, I can't see anything, it's a blurry mess. And then if you
yeah,
look down and you're like, man, my legs are split from my hip to my knee, I need to see that. Because if not, I'm
yeah,
like, oh man, like he's a water buffalo, or oh, he doesn't have enough carbs, or he has too many carbs. Like, did we spill? What did we do? So pictures are vital. I think we tried every spot on the planet in that Airbnb you got us in Pittsburgh.
hmm,
So until I was like, oh no, these are the ones. This is exact. And then we got to that gym. I knew exactly where I wanted your photos.
yeah,
Now I know not everyone's going to have quite that eye and know, like, that from experience, but when you got in that light by that back room, I was like, that's it right there. Don't move. Strip down,
Yeah.
take photos. And again, this last word of the wise to competitors, if you're uncomfortable stripping down and taking photos in public in front of people, good luck this weekend.
Yeah.
Like, because at the end of the day, if you can't get me photos that are accurate and look good when I need them, I'm just guessing it's blind in the dark.
Yep. Yeah. If you're the coach, if you're sending photos to a coach and you can't see a body part because it has a shadow on it,
Yep.
we aren't some kind of magicians who can.
No.
We also can't see it. So, yeah,
I've always wondered that, like, the amount of times I've taken photos before sending them to John or Shelby or Matt and be like, nope, we got to redo these. Because I'll look at them on my phone, I'm like, trash, 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 good, redo it. Like,
yep.
because I think at the end of the day, if you aren't looking at your photos and then looking in the mirror to see, like, are we matching? Is this what I see? Like, how in the world do you expect the coach to then prescribe a plan?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the best piece of advice of all of this. Because the worst case scenario is you get out there and you could have used 100 extra grams of carbs, or you had 100 too many.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. Like, it's a very rewarding feeling when you pump up backstage and you know you're right where you need to be. And you look down or you look in the mirror or everyone's like, what the fuck? Like, that's a cool feeling.
Yeah.
Or, you had Justin Harris count, like, yeah, you're ready, bro. Like, okay,
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah.
We nailed this. Yeah, man. Because the worst thing you can do is look in the mirror and be like, oh, this isn't my best. I've seen more out of me. And I think we've all been there. Like, you have periods of prep or whatever, and you're like, oh man, like something's off. And you don't want that backstage getting ready to walk out.
No.
I can promise you that. So yeah. The great thing is I think you at this point you have zero regrets. I'm excited to see what you weigh in at. Only because I know what you weighed in North American, and it's gonna be way more.
Yeah.
I won't spoil the fun for you guys. It's just gonna be way more.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So, any final words of how this preps went before we get off here?
It's been a great prep.
Agreed.
So looking forward to the next 8 weeks after this. I mean, that's where I'm good at. I love the rebound into another show.
I mean, my guess is 2 to 3, maybe 4 weeks of rebound and then 4 weeks to suck it back down and be fuller, harder, and nastier. Because I'm not going to let you get fat.
No. Yeah. Well, it's funny. People have asked me, like, I've gotten this question probably 30 times now. Where are you going to go eat after? I'm like, maybe I won't. Like, I don't care. Like,
Right.
if anybody wonders how I stay lean post show, it's because of that. I have zero plans on what foods I'm going to have after the show. I don't have fucking brownies in my freezer right now.
Oh, you mean your cabinets aren't full of all the shit food you want?
Yeah. I have cabinets full of cooked chicken. Yeah, well, fridge has cooked frozen chicken in there. I've got frozen fish. Got 100 pounds of rice.
Yes.
And good amounts of oatmeal and creamer rice. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'll be eating that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Obviously, I might do something stupid. Depends on how I feel, but like, I'm not planning that ahead.
No, and I understand the lore to that, and it's something to look forward to, or maybe give back to your significant other or whatever. But it's like, can we finish the task at hand first?
Yeah.
Right? Can we just focus on that goal? And a lot of times, like with that, I'm always like, let's just focus on today. Like, we have 2 days to go.
Yeah.
Two sleeps is how Daxon, my little son, will say that. Dad, we got 2 sleeps. Like, and I've always thought about that. Like, and I think that's where people go really wrong, right? Is I never underfeed my clients on show day. Like, you won't be malnourished. Some may be underhydrated, depending on how they look, how their body responds. That won't be you. We won't be worrying about rehydrating and all that mess. You're just probably going to drink normal. If I had to guess, you will drink absolutely normal all day with zero restriction.
Yeah.
I had to guess. And again, I know not everyone can get away with that. But with the free meal after, yeah, again, we might do it. We may not. I have put zero thought into that.
Yeah, none.
Like, and I know most, listen, what is the balance coaches out there will be like, Chris, that's a dirtbag move. Why? We aren't there yet. We
Yeah,
have
exactly.
we have to win. Outside of that, I could give a fuck less. Like, if you
Yep.
eat 6 meals after, 1 meal or zero, like none of
Yep.
that matters. Right now, all I'm thinking about is I want you to be the best person on that show that day, and you walk out there with 2 trophies, and we get the fuck out of there. And then no matter what you eat, it's going to taste really good.
And it's gonna taste a lot fucking better knowing I didn't fuck it up.
Yep. Yep. And to know, like, you've added the tissue where we needed to add it. You're just as lean, if not leaner. Like, hey, that feeling of relief is better than any Five Guys or pancakes, waffles, ice cream, cookies that you could dream of. I promise you guys that. Like, because a lot of times, I don't know how you feel, but there's definitely been shows that I've done where I've had these like, oh man, I can't wait to eat this, and you eat it, and it's like 6 out of 10. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, that shit wasn't even worth it. Like,
Yeah.
it's not as good as what you built up in your mind.
Yeah.
Because it's just food.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, I'm not gonna keep on here any longer. He's got to go train. Only 2 workouts left. Until next time, Chris, Dave, we are done.